You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Frederick and Cedric and Deirdre and Dot, Smelly Claire and Grimble and Fartface and Bob, Patrick Bananas and Jeffrey Big Nose, these are the names of my stinky hippos. Barbara and Yogurt and Peapod and Steve, Globule and Pooper Scooper, Dinky and Eve, Garmond and Ronjamin, Emily Lou and Rose, those are more names of my stinky hippos. Thanks so much to Love Yourself Bro in Ireland, who is 10 balding prouders old, and who asked if I could do an intro where I pretend to name all of my stinky hippos. Thank you, Love Yourself Bro. But for everyone listening, just want you to be sure that I was only pretending to name all my stinky hippos, as I have no idea what they are called. There are far too many of them, and naming them and singing a song about it would take approximately infinity years. Now, for anyone who isn't sure what I'm talking about, or what any of that means, then hello and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast that is suitable for all ages from 2 and everything in between. I'm Tiernan, and as many existing listeners will know, I think all of you exist, unless some of you are imaginary or myths, no Comedy Club for Myths listeners allowed, I have had to move from Comedy Club for Kids HQ due to there being too many stinky hippos in the building, and so the area has been cordoned off and called unsafe by clever people who know about these things. And I haven't had much luck finding somewhere else to do this show in the last few weeks, but today I am taking time out and just sitting in this nice cafe. So yeah, I can just chill for a bit now and catch up with everything that you lot have sent into the mailbag.
Sausages? Who ordered a leaning tower of sausages?
Not me, thanks.
Ah, well.
Wow, that is a sad waste of sausages. Linda, you didn't order the leaning tower of sausages, did you? No, I didn't think so. I've been sitting here with the same cup of tea now for over an hour, so I really hope they don't mind. I might order some food soon, though, as it does look very interesting. Let me just read the menu to you. It says Leaning Tower of Sausages, the Eiffel Sausages, Sausage Henge, the Empire State Sausage, the Great Wall of Sausage, or the Sausage Mahal. That is a tough choice. I was hoping to eat something that wasn't sausages, but anyway, I'll order soon. But first, the mailbag. Tugada Fugada Doogie in the UK says, Tee-hee! Dear Tiernan, I'm here to inform you that I am getting ambushed by Toast, who said they will eat you in 30 minutes, and you should check if Linda is in your hair. This is Jojo. And then they've sent a picture of someone who I assume is Jojo. They look very friendly, but goodness, Tugada Fugada Doogie, I am sorry to hear you've been ambushed by Toast. Crumbs. That is worrying. Is it buttered toast? If so, I advise pushing it over, and it will have to land buttered side down, and it will sort of get stuck to the floor, and that'll give you a chance to escape. I'm not worried about getting ambushed myself, as I'm in a cafe, which it seems is completely toast safe.
We do toast with sausages.
Ah, well. I have also checked if Linda is in my hair, but there was just a family of nits who were very friendly, said they didn't know who Linda was, and please could I call ahead next time and not disturb their dinner. Thanks for your message, Doogie. Right, next in the mailbag is... this is from I'm Just Leaving in New Zealand, who says, Wow, I'm in love with this show, and you sound like a stupid, stinky old man, apparently, that's from Awesome, 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 Amazing, Awesome, and whatever else is in that title. I love the show. I sound like a stupid, stinky old man? How dare you? Look, I might be stupid, very stupid, in fact, and I might be stinky, unbelievably stinky, but I am not that old. Okay, I'm kind of old. Yeah, all right, maybe you win, but I'm not very old. Anyway, look, I'm very glad you like the show, and thanks for your message.
Are you going to eat any sausages?
No thanks. Can I just have another cup of tea?
With sausages?
No, I don't want sausages in the tea, thank you.
One tea, no sausages.
That tea you just threw at the wall, that had some sausages in it.
Yeah, tea no sausages has sausages, just not as many as tea with sausages.
Okay, well, before I get kicked out of this cafe for not eating sausages, let me just remind you all that if you want to send anything in, then you can. Questions for the show, jokes, weird comments about how I sound stinky and indeed old, whatever you like. All you got to do is find your nearest frowning slubbergullions. I'm sorry, I mean grown-ups, and get them to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. And if those same grown-ups would like to support this podcast happening, then they can pay a small monthly fee at Apple Podcasts, patreon.com/Comedy Club for Kids, or Acast Plus for the advert-free Linda edition, where, like Linda, adverts never ever show up. And please also do check out comedyclubforkids.co.uk for all of our live shows too.
Do you want dessert? We've got sausage and custard or sausage and sausage.
Listeners, while I work out what I have to order, why don't you listen to this most important sausage? Hooray, hooray, it's the world's greatest piano spotter, Helen Duff. Helen, how are you? It is so nice to have you back on Radio Nonsense.
I'm absolutely fantastic. Thank you. I've seen several pianos across stations in London since we last spoke.
Wow. That's a dramatic increase, I think, since the last time we spoke to you. So are pianos starting to return to their natural habitat?
What, in terms of the railway stations?
Yes.
I think what happens is people leave them. People tend to think, oh, yeah, obviously I can take a piano on the train. And then they get to the train station and they go, oh, no, the train carriage is quite small. It's packed full of people. Someone's bought a buggy.
Yes.
Another person's bought a dog. Where am I going to put my piano? So then they have to leave them on the platform or on the concourse or in the station. And as a consequence, it just becomes part of the station and the station owns it and anyone can play it. And I say anyone because I have passed by pianos that have been played by maestros, people who just seem to be able to sit down and play an extraordinary symphony almost on the piano. I know symphony is a word that you would normally use for several instruments, but these people are so skilled.
Wow, they're that good,
just with their fingers on the keys. And then other people who seem to think they're doing woodwork, just pounding the keys.
Sure.
And their fingers are the hammers.
But I think that is one of the beautiful things about pianos is, like you say, anyone can play it. Like I've seen a cat play a piano before by sort of running across it.
What was she playing? I assumed it was a girl cat.
Yes, it was a girl cat, and she was playing... I believe I'm not entirely sure of the name, but I believe it's called something like "Upset My Owners" or "Annoy Everyone in the Near Area," because it sort of had that disjointed, plinky plonky sound that after a short while would make you feel like your brain was crumbling.
I can imagine a cat being quite skillful in terms of what do they call it, legato, staccato, levels of volume, right? Because on a piano you can make something sound really dramatic, intense, angry.
Yes.
If you hit the keys really hard, or soft, gentle, beautiful. And I feel like a cat could kind of control that with their paws. They could either like jump and slam, or very gently creep.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true, and sometimes even leap from the top of a cupboard onto a piano to make the loudest sounds you've ever heard. They're very good at that.
That's going to be a thunderstorm, isn't it? Yeah,
yes.
That's how you create the kind of world-ending type of sound.
Yes, they're very good at that. I mean, I suppose something I should ask really in the piano. Are they thriving in these areas? Because I don't know. I mean, I'm not particularly aware,
They're doing very well.
or and maybe listeners aren't. But I don't know where pianos are when they're out in the wild, and I don't know what they need to sort of sustain life in the wild. But
ordinarily,
are they okay in these station areas?
They seem to be doing very well.
Great.
I would say that pianos are less. What's the word? I wanted to say monogamous. Like you think of pianos as being a one family or a one school, like devoted to a single group of people.
Yes.
They only want to be played by that familiar group. In fact, I think they really enjoy the variety of fingers, the different types of experience and talent. They're much more open to being played by a whole range of players.
That's
and
lovely.
In many ways, we kind of imprison them in our homes and force them to just be blinky plonked on by 10-year-olds learning scales. Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's one of the best kept secrets about pianos is that we pretend they enjoy living in houses, and actually they want to get out there in the world.
They want to be free. I mean, is that something you suggested? If any listeners have pianos in their home, should they try and arrange for their pianos to go outside, be put in the park?
Obviously, the park is tricky because they can get wet, and that does ruin a piano.
Sure.
They are made of wood. So don't leave it in the park unless it's under a protective canopy. And even then, I would say damp conditions, you're going to get a swelling of keys, internal parts. It's not going to sound right. You want it to be in a place where the climate can be controlled. I would suggest, if you have it in your heart, open your house up to strangers walking in and playing.
Right. That's nicer. Sure. So make your house like a train station. Yeah.
It might not be good for you in terms of your possessions could quite easily be stolen or broken or damaged, depending on the strangers that come. But if you're putting the piano's needs first, maybe you need to be less protective of your things.
Yeah, I also worry because, I mean, we do have listeners of every possible age you can imagine, but younger listeners they shouldn't talk to strangers. So strangers coming into their home, younger listeners will have to just point them in the direction of the piano silently, and that will require a lot of mime-based skills.
And that might also be challenging because then how do you know that stranger has come in to play the piano if you're not able to speak to them?
Yes.
They could just be there to read the gas meter and you're pushing them to play the piano.
And they really don't want to play the piano.
And they really don't want to play the piano.
Yeah. That, well, at the same time, it could be they're coming to read the gas meter. You force them to play the piano. Turns out this is actually the career they should have had, and they become the world's greatest gas meter reading pianist.
Yeah, how many people do you think have discovered they're good at the piano just by suddenly sitting down and playing it? Like Jason Bourne. Doesn't he suddenly realise he has these skills because he's had a memory loss?
Yeah.
He's kind of a spy, isn't he? But he must have some kind of head injury, forgets who he is, realises he has all these skills and thinks, oh, I probably learnt these during a time I can't remember. So are you assuming some people just have an inborn piano talent?
Yes.
That they would only discover if they happen to be going to read a gas meter in someone's home and a child who could not speak to them. Force them to sit down.
I mean, I think that's why and again, I think of anyone listening to this, if you see a piano and you haven't played one before, just go up and start hitting it, and it could be that you produce absolute magic instantly without any training. Try using your feet. I think your elbows, whatever you need to. You don't know where this magic ability could be coming from. I would add to that,
like with any kind of art, don't judge yourself too quickly. From inside, it can seem like you're just making mayhem, a chaotic mess, a terrible, terrible noise.
Yes.
But other people from the outside might be like, I would record that and release it in the charts. True. So don't censor yourself is all I would say. In the same way, if you're writing poetry or stories or painting, what comes from you could be uniquely marvelous in a way that other people are really, really into. And you might dismiss it just because it comes easily.
That's very true. I mean, I don't want to stereotype of music, but for example, there is music called abstract jazz. And to some people, it sounds like someone has fallen down the stairs while carrying a lot of instruments. And to other people, they say, this is the sounds that click in my head. But it definitely does sound like you've fallen down the stairs carrying a lot of instruments.
I mean, in that case, just because the very specific description you've given there, falling down the stairs with a lot of instruments, I would be concerned for the people who enjoy it, because if that's what they're hearing in their heads most of the time,
yes,
they probably need to go and get checked for tinnitus.
Right, yeah, sure. Yes, that's a good, And also I worry for the safety of the musicians they enjoy, who will have to keep falling downstairs while carrying their instruments in order to make them happy, and that's quite dangerous. True.
There's a line there, isn't there, between hurting yourself and creating something that's powerful.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's amazing that already you've been spotting these pianos, and you've been spotting them in some quite exciting places, as you said, many more than since last time we spoke. And have you been keeping yourself busy otherwise, aside from spotting pianos? What have you been doing?
I've been doing a lot of counting corn.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice. Is there a lot of it?
You can find it in supermarkets, fields, the occasional art gallery.
Okay.
What you're doing is you can count, obviously, individual sheaths of corn.
Right.
But you can also count corn on the cob. And it's interesting to compare one cob of corn to another, because you might think there's like a uniform amount of kernels on the cob, but often there's great variation. So it's interesting to compare what look from the outside like two similarly sized corn on the cobs,
right,
and to find out that actually one has 20 to 13 more kernels than the other.
Well, I mean, that is fascinating. I mean, I have to ask because I'm very unaware of corn etiquette. I'm very unaware of military etiquette too, and I know that corn on the cobs have kernels, but it has lots of kernels, and I don't understand how they're all in charge at the same time.
I don't think it's necessarily a power thing.
Okay.
I think in many ways it's sort of like a barracks.
Right.
As in, it's the place to go to sleep. So the kernels on a corn on the cob are not at that point necessarily in command role. They're not thinking, how can I steer this ship or sheath?
Right.
Well, the sheath is the thing that goes over the top, right? So am I saying that correctly? Am I right in saying that?
I don't know. You're the corn expert. I've got no idea. Is that the sort of
you shuck a piece of corn,
I believe.
You shuck an oyster.
But Shaka Khan is a singer. But you shuck a corn.
Shaka Khan is a singer.
Yes.
You shuck an oyster. You shuck a corn.
Oh, do you shuck an oyster?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So do you shuck a corn?
I don't know. All I can think of is Shaka Khan, but maybe you shuck a corn.
I'm laughing, listener, because there's a really good song by the singer Shaka Khan, which starts with her singing Shaka Khan, Shaka Khan, Shaka. And the way that we're saying Shaka Khan sounds like Shaka Khan.
It could.
So if your grown up who's listening with you in the car or wherever you are is laughing, it's probably because when we say Shaka Khan, they're hearing Shaka Khan.
Well, also now I think it puts into question, was Shaka Khan singing about shucking a corn?
Almost definitely, yeah.
And actually, that was her favourite thing to do, and she might.
And
in
fact, she's called Audrey and was mistakenly called Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan. She was saying Shaka Khan, and count how many kernels there are sleeping inside, and people misinterpret it as her calling herself Shaka Khan.
Yes, I think that's almost certainly what's happened here, and I mean, it's fascinating and. I don't even really know what a shuck. I don't know how you shuck something. I know how you chuck something. I know how you shush something. Is a shuck like a quiet chuck?
Is a shuck like a quiet chuck? No, because you're not throwing anything away from yourself. If anything, you're unveiling it.
Oh, I see. Okay. So no, it's not like a quiet chuck. I don't
understand why you're shucking corn, but you're unsheathing a sword. So maybe I'm wrong about the sheath element. Because a sheath is something you put a sword into.
Yeah, this is very confusing, isn't it? Maybe they didn't want people to get confused with corns and swords, because in the olden days that would have made battles really like silly. You know, because if they'd sort of called it the same thing, all these knights might have gone into battle with a corn on the cob instead of a sword. And that could have been awful.
Now this is confusing. I just Googled corn sheath. What is the sheath of a corn is one of the questions that people generally ask. But the first result that came up was stooks and sheaves, which is an entirely other variety of dried flour made from lavender and wheat. Okay, I think it's too much to get into. Should I remove corn tassel? Then it says, what is the covering of corn called? The covering of corn is called pericarp.
Oh, whoa. Corn is deep. I mean, what I like is that you've obviously been corn counting, but there is a whole world of corn information that I don't know if anyone is certain of.
I think sheath might be the collective noun, as in like a bundle of reaped but unthreshed corn tied with one or two bonds. Do you think I meant thresh rather than unsheath?
I don't know, but then when are you shucking? When do you shuck if you're threshing?
The corn sheath, also known as corn husk, is the outer covering for the corn cob.
I think corns are pretty... I'm going to say it now, and I want to apologise to all the corn out there that I have been undermining you. I did not realise that corn had so many names and jobs and so much potential. There's a lot going on with corn.
There's a lot going on. Husk, sheath, pericarp.
They are great. They are great words. Wow. And I know you're counting it, and that's a different vibe. But I do have to ask, as is necessary.
That's just to calm me down.
That's just to calm you down, right? Sure.
Yeah. If I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, I just go and count some corn.
That's a nice thing to do. Well, I was going to ask because one of my issues with corn is that you get popcorn, but then back to our kind of music chat, you don't get any other genres of corn. You don't get rock corn, jazz corn. You don't get sort of hip hop corn.
I think you and I, in the past 5 minutes, we've been speaking about sheaths and shuck and shaka Khan. That's jazz corn.
That is jazz corn.
We've just done that. We've just
corn,
created jazz corn. Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Nonsense
that's what I want.
corn.
Yeah, that's what I want. And, and I see a world one day where perhaps you've got pianos with keys made of kernels of corn.
That would be obviously contaminating my two major hobbies.
Yes.
And I feel like it might be a bit overwhelming for me.
Sure.
But somebody else might find it, less. That sounds like a lot. That sounds like if you were a runner who also enjoyed skiing, trying to run on skis.
Right. I see. I'm sorry.
Don't take your two hobbies and combine them, because
that's fair.
You will almost definitely ruin them. Just keep them separate. That's the way they're meant to be.
I'm so sorry. I didn't even think
Someone who
about
enjoys baking and also sleeping, trying to bake while sleeping. Do you see? Chaos ensues.
But then you could, if you woke up if your bread rose at the same time as you rose, that would be quite nice, wouldn't it?
Oh, so you're talking about the kind of baking you can do where you leave it overnight. So it technically keeps cooking, but you don't have to be actively a part of it.
Yeah. I think if I could time sleeping so I woke up exactly as bread was ready, I'd be really happy.
You probably can do that if you buy bread.
Yeah, maybe I'll think about that. But, look, I'm sorry, I didn't want to overcomplicate your two, obviously you do piano spot professionally, whereas you corn count for relaxation. I can see how that would be a problem to combine.
I piano spot professionally, and I corn count to calm me down.
Yes. So you wouldn't. The last thing you would want is a corn piano, because that throws in all sorts of issues, and mixing work and play is not healthy. So, well, listen, Helen, thank you. I mean, already I feel like we've entered realms of especially corn understanding that I don't think anyone knew was possible, and will probably even surprise the most enthusiastic corn hobbyists out there. I've asked you here, though, to answer a specific question. As you know, we've got a specific question that's been sent in that I think you are the person that can answer it. But before we get there, I do have some standard Radio Nonsense admin. You've dealt with this before. One of the questions is an old question, come back, due to popular demand. By that, I mean 3 people asking about it. And one of the questions is a sort of classic. So first up, as I mentioned, this show is listened to by people, aliens, animals, entities of all ages and types, and I have to check if there are any rude words you will not be saying to make sure this show stays friendly for everyone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've got 2, cumulonimbus.
Oh, wow.
And clap.
Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's so cumulonimbus. I can see why you wouldn't say that. That is really upsetting on a number of levels, and I think particularly if you put both words together. Do you find it so bad if you say just one or the other? Is nimbus okay? Cumulo by itself?
Oh, I hadn't considered that. Cumulo, and then on a separate occasion, nimbus. I don't know why I would use either of those individually.
Sure. I understand that. Yeah, I understand that.
I'm avoiding saying cumulonimbus just because I think words with that many syllables, what we're talking, cumulonimbus, 5.
Yeah.
They are up to something cheeky.
I mean, I would say
they're hiding something in there.
Yeah, I do think that cumulonimbus 100% sounds like an insult. I feel like you could call someone a cumulonimbus and they wouldn't necessarily know what it meant, but you'd be like, nah, you cumulonimbus. It feels like something you'd say.
Yeah, that really the nimbus emphasis really does sound. Yeah. It's almost like you could call somebody a nimbus. That does sound insulting, to be fair. And then if you call them a cumulonimbus, it sounds like an accumulation of nimbusing.
Yes, it does. You're the maximum nimbus.
Yeah.
That's pretty there's a pretty awful thing to say about someone, I think.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yes, I agree. Well, I suppose then a clap is that cumulonimbus are clouds and they're quite fluffy, but it does sound like an insult. But a clap is sort of the opposite. It's a loud noise. Is it? But it's the word itself that
I think they're quite
doesn't sound very
related
nice.
to me. So cumulonimbus obviously is a word for a cloud formation, kind of the most common, I think, because they're
so,
often
yeah.
spoken about. So not only are you talking about somebody being cloudy, heavy, full of rain, damp, dull, interrupting an otherwise blue sky.
Yes.
Those are the implications I'm thinking of with
Which is rude, yeah.
You're also thinking about an average cloud, like your most standard, middle of the road, boring. We've all seen those clouds 100 times kind of cloud, right?
Yeah.
Not only are you a cloud, but you're also the one that we see all the time. There's nothing special about you.
Yeah, really dull.
So there's that. And then clap kind of comes alongside because thunderclap. But instead of there being the thunder element, which is exciting, intriguing, when are we going to hear the next? The sky is like a battleground. Instead, it's just a clap. So you haven't got it's just like, what's that? Where's that clap?
Right.
What's that?
Yeah.
It's not thunder.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also it's like one clap, one single clap. Imagine somebody has just done the performance of a lifetime and they get one single clap. It's not clapping. It's not applause. It's not clap, clap, clap. It's just clap. I'll do a demonstration now. Almost doing the demonstration is more, I think, insulting, more naughty, more of a swear than the word itself. Just this.
Yeah, that's
So imagine you just done like the biggest, best joke you could have thought of, and I just went.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like I'm praising you or celebrating you. It sounds like you told a joke. I saw a mosquito, tried to catch and kill the mosquito. I don't know whether I got it or not, but I definitely didn't acknowledge, laugh at, or celebrate your joke in any way. It's almost like I didn't hear you. It's almost silence would almost be better than.
Yeah, do you know what, Helen? I thank you for not saying cumulonimbus or clap on this, and I have to say with clap that I agreed with you already, and then getting the display of a single clap.
Yeah, I'll avoid saying it, and I'll also avoid going.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for not clapping, and I certainly wouldn't clap either or say clap. I wouldn't even dare think about it. Wow. Well, the next question, listen, that I have to ask you, obviously it's necessary admin, is Helen, would you rather, and actually this is funny because this fits with what we've just been talking about, sort of. But Helen, would you rather you were constantly followed around by a small cloud that rained frogs on your head, or that whenever you put any valuable items down, they were carried away by a team of naked mole rats?
Okay. First question with the second one is, what other way are mole rats dressed other than being naked? Only because the person has made the effort to put naked mole rats, as if ordinarily we'd expect them to be wearing full tuxedos.
Yeah, well, you say person. This is, I mean, this is a standard Radio Nonsense question. This
it's you.
It is me. I did. Yes, I did. But I mean, I would say, I think there are.
Naked.
I think there are two types of mole rats. You have mole rats who wear little shorts and a hat, and then there are naked mole rats who
tops off.
Who don't. They just have their bums out.
Shorts,
tops off.
Shorts and hats, no tops, or fully naked.
Yes, or fully naked. Yeah.
Who's wearing a hat but no top? Who's doing that? And I'm just trying to imagine if there's anybody who could compare that to. Somebody's skateboarding on a boulevard in Los Angeles, maybe.
Yes, I think that's exactly the vibe they're going for.
Right, a skateboarding Los Angelian.
Yeah, I think they've seen it once or twice and thought this is the look we need to go
or
for.
Fully naked,
mole rats.
Just fully naked.
Yeah, which I think makes sense because they are burrowing through the ground quite a lot, and you're going to get everything dirty anyway. There's no point in wearing clothes because they'll just get muddy, so they just don't wear clothes. And I think I get that.
And what were they doing? Sorry, I was so distracted by the fact they weren't wearing any clothes.
They are. If every time you put any valuable items down, they'll carry it away. A little team of naked rats will carry it away.
I'd rather that one because then at least I had an excuse for losing my things.
Right, that's nice.
Because I
That's
have some
nice.
things that I've lost in my life that torment me still. I lost a really, really important necklace that a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, and I still think about it all the time. And I see photos of myself wearing it a lot because I wore it a lot. And I miss it so much. And the person who gave it to me was very special. It was my grandma. And I really miss her. And so not having it. But the frustration is just this abyss, this emptiness of where did it go? I know vaguely when I had it and then when I didn't. So I know the kind of timeline. And I have made phone calls. I've asked people to search. I've done various bits of trying to get it back, but I have not succeeded. And so it could be anywhere. Somebody could be wearing it. Somebody could have sold it. It could just be still in the corner of a room or down a drain. If I knew that definitely these naked mole rats had taken it, even though it wouldn't make me feel better because I still wouldn't have it back, at least the curiosity, the not knowing wouldn't be there, which is kind of so tormenting, just that vast abyss of it could be anywhere and I don't know where it is.
I can see that, and I mean, also, I think you should think perhaps naked mole rats did take it, and that could well be. It's definitely, I think, one of the more reasonable explanations for where it could have gone. If you have searched everywhere and it is nowhere to be found, then it's very likely some little creatures burrowed from under the ground, came up, took it, and then vanished again into the ground.
How big is a mole rat in comparison to like a normal rat?
I don't think they're very big. That's a good question. The thing is, rats can get pretty big.
Rats can get massive.
So I'd go for like, so I'm going for like, if you go for like basic small rat size, I reckon naked mole rat is like small rat.
So you're thinking at the size of a fist?
Probably, yeah. I think almost certainly, yeah.
Or smaller?
Yeah. No, like a long fist.
A
long rat-shaped fist.
I'm just wondering if a mole rat could wear a ring around its neck.
Well, definitely on its paw.
An armband.
It could put it like an armband. I think that's another reason why they're naked, so they can then fit more clothes on them when they steal things.
Precisely. Because if one of them was like the king mole rat, and he was wearing the ring as a kind of crown, or a bandana, or like a really buff choker.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I think I think that makes sense.
In some ways, that would make me feel better, like it had a purpose. It was being used to show value in a person or mole rat.
You've very likely, as much as it's a loss to you, you've helped create a new type of naked mole rat royalty, and I think that's quite interesting.
I hope I'm not creating some sort of really damaging, violent hierarchy. Yeah. I mean, I'm imagining a kind of Roman, you know, with the gladiators where they're sort of tyrannical leaders who make them fight. Maybe that ring.
Yeah, I mean, you could well have created an awful leader who's now destroying naked mole rat society. But I mean, it's not worth thinking about that aspect. I think, at least, let's hope that naked mole rats as leaders are very kind.
But that is interesting to think, because in a way, although I'd love that ring back, it is it helpful? It's certainly distracting to imagine it having an entirely other life, not just being lost and sort of sitting, waiting for me to find it again, but creating an entirely new ecosystem of power within a species like mole rats.
That's nice. I think that's really nice, and I hope that I hope that I'm almost certain that is what's happened, and I think it's definitely a more sensible choice than being followed around by a small clown that rained frogs on your head if you are not interested in owning a shop that sells frogs. I think so.
I just don't like getting my hair wet all the time. It takes ages to dry.
Yeah. So, I think it's very sensible. Very sensible choice. Thank you for thinking about that question properly and answering it as was necessary. Helen, listen, we've got this question. This is why we've got you here. This is the reason that I've asked you to come back on the show, other than obviously it being lovely to have you here. So I'll read this out to you. Hey, Tiernan, here's a question. That's a nice way to prepare us for there being a question in case you weren't sure if a question was coming. I like that we get that little intro to really make you feel at ease. It says, from the person who is one less than 15 and one more than 13.
So
now, I'm not
14, I think that means.
Good. Is that right? Okay. The thing is, it doesn't say one one less or one more what. So it could be like 13 and a shoe and one more shoe. It doesn't, what I'm saying is it doesn't say one more number. It might be one more
shoe.
It could be one more shoe, one more leg, one more.
It could be a millipede person. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
right.
They are less than 50. One less. Maybe they are one less.
Leg.
I don't know, jetpack than 15 or something.
Okay.
I'm just saying it's just But I'm just saying we can't make assumptions when they haven't.
Could also be where they live. One less than 15,
yes.
One more than 13. Number 14, for example. Or
That's
maybe
true.
they have
That's
a street where there is no number 14, so it's kind of just like a hole in the wall, an alleyway.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. This is from a person in an alleyway. Yeah, which means they could be mysterious.
Almost definitely.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so this is from a very mysterious person. That's the judgment I'm going to make right here. And they have said, why can't we make onions cry, but they can make us cry? Thanks, Carlo. And then they put in brackets, A-Lo. Now, I don't know if that's... I think they're saying that it's Carlo. They're not like saying that they are a low down. I don't think that they are A-Lo Carlo. But it's very hard to know. Yeah.
I read that as with the A-Lo, I tried to say it out loud because Carlo, I thought maybe it's to do with the pronunciation of how they want Carlo to be said. And I think it would be quite tricky to say, because you just said A-Lo. And I thought, oh, maybe it's Carlo, like Carlo. Here, to do it with an A is very hard. Carlo. If there's
Carlo. Yeah. That is hard, yeah. That is
so
hard.
I don't think it's actually A, I think it's Allo. Anyway.
Yes, Callo. I see. Callo. Right, I see. I thought they were very low, maybe low to the ground, hiding in an alleyway.
A low
being
person.
super mysterious.
Right.
Yes, I thought that's what I was taking from it.
Or potentially they are the note A, pitched low.
Oh.
A. I don't know if that's the sound of A, but it could be A. I don't know what an A. I don't have perfect pitch.
No,
maybe they knew that we
would
be talking about piano spotting, and they just wanted to link in somehow.
I think that's it, and I think it's probably important that we pronounce her name in that one Carlo. It might have to be that one
Carlo.
Yeah.
Carlo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
yes.
Carlo sounds like a mysterious person. Also, potentially somebody with violent tendencies. Why can't we make onions cry when they make us cry? As if he, she, they has really made an effort to make the onion cry and has so far not succeeded. Here's two things I would say. One, maybe investigate why you're so determined to make the onion cry. Talk to somebody you love and let some of that anger out another way.
Yeah.
Two,
sensible.
If that doesn't work and it's actually, you're just curious, it's not that you just want to torture an onion. One way you could try and make it cry is to squeeze it really hard. So you could press it, like this is me saying, if you're somebody who is fine, doesn't have violent tendencies, you could torture the onion this way. So I was thinking about like a clamp. Where you sometimes in DT, I remember from secondary school, you'd have like a kind of clamp that you'd clamp onto a table, and that would keep various, in science, design and technology, it would keep things like attached to the table that you didn't want to move around, like a chopping board or a science experiment. You could use that kind of clamp, but instead of clamping onto the table in order to secure something on top of the table, you could just put the onion inside it and then squeeze the onion with it.
Wow.
Until it may be wet. Because I think probably onions do have, most vegetables, some water in there. Like they're probably 50% water. So if you wanted to see if you could get a tear out of an onion, I wouldn't be surprised if you just give it a really good squeeze.
That's great.
Whether you could get it to cry. So it doesn't fully answer your question, because I'm saying I think you probably could get it to cry. I think you just haven't tried hard enough. And maybe
that's fair.
Have a conversation with somebody about why you want it to cry, and then go ahead and have a go.
I mean, I would say that I think you're being slightly unfair to Carlo, in that I think that maybe their motivation for wanting to make onions cry is because onions do make us cry quite often. And I know revenge isn't sensible and you shouldn't be after it. But sometimes when an onion's made you cry that many times, you do think, oh, well, this isn't fair. I think it's my turn to make you cry, and
I don't know
I
if
have
that's
certainly
what they
tried.
say about revenge, Tiernan. I don't think they say revenge isn't sensible. I think they might say revenge doesn't pay, which means that
Oh, yes.
you can get trapped in a cycle where you want somebody to feel as bad as you do. So you want to inflict the same pain on the other person as they've inflicted on you. There's also that phrase, an eye for an eye makes everybody blind, right? Like, as in, if you're determined on making people feel exactly the way you felt, you might end up just pursuing something to the point at which everybody's in pain, rather than just saying, let's move on from this. The onion has made me cry several times. Every time I make soup, for example, or a stir fry, or a bolognese. Instead of saying, how can I make the onion feel similarly inflicted? Maybe just think, I'm actually already getting a form of my own back on the onion because I'm chopping it to put into this.
They're going to eat it, yes.
Beef chili.
Yes. Yeah.
I think what you're doing there is you're failing to recognize that the reason the onion's making you cry is because you're cutting it with a knife. I'm not walking through the supermarket looking at an onion immediately bursting into tears. The onion is only making you cry because you have opened it up, chopped it in half, sliced it with a knife, right? Either that or you've, I don't know, bitten directly into it with your teeth or broken it open with your own hands.
Yeah, I mean, there's also sometimes you do look at onions in the supermarket and you weep because you know that at some point it's going to make you cry cutting. And, sometimes you get the memories of all the onions that have made you cry before and it all comes flooding back.
No, I don't think that's true.
Then you think, no,
I think you're making that up.
Right?
I think you're making that up. I think you're just trying to defend how you want to have revenge on a vegetable. Yes. That in many ways you've already overpowered, absolutely, because you've cooked it, eaten it.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you, Helen. This is something that I've never admitted before on this podcast, but quite a long time ago, me and my wife got an Indian takeaway, which is one of my favourite takeaways, and for some reason, on this takeaway, instead of writing my name properly, they wrote it as Tiernan. And then in one of the curries that we had, there was a whole onion in there, like it hadn't been chopped at all. And we weren't sure if had they called me Tiernan and then put the whole onion in there, or was it just they all they could think about was onion?
It really sounds to me like they thought your name was Tiernan. They liked you because you're a regular, and they thought, let's treat them to a full onion in their takeaway. They'll get the joke, or they'll get the inside. No.
No, I've been angry about it ever since, and I think maybe this is where my revenge on onions.
Angry? It made you angry rather than. You
I just don't want people to think of me as tin onion. I don't want people to put me in food.
Right.
I don't want to end up in someone else's food because they think I'm a giant onion and my name is Tin Onion. And that worries me, and it's had me worried ever since.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see how you might wake up in a cold sweat worrying that somebody's going to cook you with an onion.
Yeah. So, I'm just saying. This is a personal issue.
But in that case, in many ways, I would expect you to have more empathy with the onion in that case.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
If you have been through the experience of imagining yourself as a human onion being cooked, then surely you should recognize what the onion has to go through on a daily basis.
You're right, Helen. You're right. This is why I have you on the show. You sort of bring these truths, these cold, hard truths. I've got to think about my relationship with onions, and indeed tin onion,
and why Carlo thinks it's okay to try and make an onion cry when he's probably the reason he's crying in the first place, chopping an onion, is because he's chopping an onion. You are slicing it with your knife. Yeah. Okay? You're already doing some damage to that onion. I think it's paid.
Wow. Well, Helen, I mean, what can I say? We've learned so much about onions, so much about corn, so much about pianos. It's been a very educational episode, as always. And listen, it's been so lovely having you back on. I've got to ask, what have you got coming up in the next 5 to 300 minutes? Anything exciting?
5 to 300 minutes. Who knows? 5 to 300 minutes. 300 minutes isn't many. That's like 4 hours?
I'm not sure, yeah.
I am pregnant, actually, so I could potentially have a baby in the next 300 minutes.
That would be a really big 300 minutes, yeah.
That would be a huge 300 minutes. Things would have to start right now, as soon as I come off the call, and escalate quite quickly. I'm probably going to have some lunch.
Right, okay, sure. That makes sense. Wow, that's a very, very good answer. Let's hope I mean, obviously, baby's very exciting, but probably in the next 300 minutes, you would just go for lunch, I'm guessing. So
yeah, a sandwich is just as exciting at this stage.
Lunch for you. I hope those naked mole rats bring back your ring. I hope that's going to happen.
Thank you.
And good luck with the piano spotting and indeed the corn counting as a relaxation in between all the other things.
Yeah, I'd highly recommend it to anybody who fancies starting. It's really easy. Just go into any local supermarket that has them loose on the shelves, because they do get a little bit snippy if you open up the plastic packets.
That's great. Thank you for your wisdom, Helen, and hopefully speak to you soon.
Thank you so much, Tiernan.
Thanks so much to Helen Duff for having time to chat in between all of her expert piano spotting. Kalo or Carlo, I do hope you liked your answer, but if not, why not put any complaints you have inside an onion, and then when I get it, I'll be crying too much to read it. If you have a question that you need to have answered, or you just want to send in anything else at all, then please find your nearest frowning slubbergullions, sorry, I mean grown-ups, to help you email me at podcast@comedyclub4kids.co.uk. And do also check out the other podcast that I do called Bust or Trust, a kids mystery podcast, which I host with regular Radio Nonsense guest Athena Kublenu. It's a lot of fun. Do check it out. Full of mysteries and comedy and all sorts of stuff.
Right, you have to eat these 7 plates of sausages or leave.
Okay, I really don't want to eat 7 plates of sausages. I guess I'd better get going then.
It's toast time! Everybody put your sausages in the air. This is a toast ambush.
Whoa, it did happen. Tiggada Fugada was right.
I won't have toast in here unless it's got sausages in it. Okay, you asked for it. It's time to jam. Oh, I've got jam in my eyes. I can't see a thing. I can't even see any sausages.
Right, listeners, this is a bit chaotic. While the toast and the sausage lady are battling it out, I'm going to sneak out so I don't have to order any sausages myself and also escape any kind of toast ambush. I've just got to be very, very quiet.
Oi! Where are you going? Get him!
Uh-oh, now I'm in a real jam. Bye! You have been listening to
Comedy Club for Kids presents
Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. It's the end.